Francie, we've apparently got word we already have a verdict. We don't know what that is. We know that we've been waiting to hear from Donald Trump, but that a verdict has been reached. Rebecca Rose Woodland, what do you think of that?
I am absolutely shocked. The jury said that they were leaving at 4:30, and now they have a verdict. So I guess maybe we got the information wrong. Maybe the jury said they were ready to discuss something with the judge at 4:30 because it's 4:39 and there's a verdict. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what it is. The readbacks from the judge this morning indicated that they were interested in some testimony and they wanted to know what the law was again. And the judge did read that back to them. So I guess we'll find out any moment what the result is here.
Indeed, for those just tuning in, we have just gotten word that the jury has reached a verdict in this Trump HushMoney case. Whether that involves addressing all 34 counts, whether any were combined, no idea. But Francie, of course, maybe there was that misinterpretation of them stopping things early. They could have gone right to 6 p.m. Maybe when finishing up a little bit before 4:30, a little more than 10 minutes ago, they were indeed finished. What do you make of it?
Well, it's really interesting, Neil. I said all along that I thought a fast verdict, something like this, was probably not good for the former president, that the longer it went on, the more it would suggest a hung jury, that is, a jury unable to reach a verdict. So I think the fact that they've reached a verdict is probably not good for the former president, but it's really difficult to know what a jury is going to do in an extraordinary case like this, where you have so much unconstitutional thumb on the scale by the judge and bringing charges by a district attorney that don't make any legal or judicial sense. But you never know what a jury's going to do when they're handed a case. All
right, we can read all sorts of things into the relative quick nature of this, Rebecca, and that was a sort of a consensus that built up that if it were an early verdict, it would be damaging to the defense. I don't know if that always applies, but your thoughts?
Look, there was a lot of time between the beginning of this trial and now for jurors to make decisions. They also had almost a week off. I'm very, very strongly hoping that the jury saw through the smoke and mirrors that the prosecution put forth, that of course, the jury doesn't understand that the president's Sixth Amendment rights were very severely and clearly violated in this case, that if we do have a verdict that is guilty, I would expect that the defense team would immediately make an immediate appeal to the Supreme Court for an automatic stay based on constitutional violations that have occurred in this courtroom. We will see what is happening now, but it also does make me think the jury came to some conclusions over the course of time that they were dismissed over that long weekend. And when they came back and they heard the jury instructions, they had almost made up their mind by that point, because this is a very short amount of time for a 34-count felony indictment.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
All right, 43 past the hour. Let's go right to NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard live outside the courthouse in New York City. Vaughn, what's going on inside the courtroom right now?
Yeah, good morning, Mika. We're tracking this in real time. Donald Trump is back inside of the courtroom, as well as the jury. They have delivered an additional note here this morning clarifying what parts of jury instruction they want read back to them this morning inside of this courtroom. You'll recall that yesterday, before court closed for the day and before jury deliberation day number 1 ended, this jury requested to have parts of the jury instruction read back to them. Now, it took an hour and 26 minutes yesterday to do that. This is where it's articulated what the law is that they are looking to determine Donald Trump's guilt over, but as well as the extent to which they are able to draw inferences from facts that were stated in this case. And Judge Merchan has indicated, based off of this new note delivered by the jury here in the last just 5 minutes, that they would like pages 7 through 35 read back to them. So if you do the math, that should take us about 45 minutes. They also requested to have 4 different parts of witness testimony, specifically from David Pecker and Michael Cohen read back to them here this morning. We expect that to look like about 35 pages of testimony. It relates to conversations that took place between Donald Trump, Michael Cohen, and David Pecker in 2015, 2016. For the prosecution, that is at the beginning of what they allege to be the beginning of the conspiracy to hatch this catch and kill scheme. That is expected to take about 40 minutes to read back. So court here this morning, at least to start the day, should look like a little bit of what court has looked like here in the past. Is the jury, as well as the defendant, Donald Trump, will be in the courtroom to read back some of these notes because they do not actually have this entire packet of jury instructions in front of them. So if they want clarification, they must request Judge Merchan to read back and clarify for them. And they have a laptop in their possession, which we should note they just requested headphones so they can listen to some of the audio exhibits that were a part of this trial. But particularly not what is on that laptop includes the actual transcripts of the witness testimony. So if they want any of what David Pecker said back in April or Michael Cohen said 2 weeks ago read back to them, they've got to request it. And that has to be read back to them inside of this courtroom. So that could indicate, based off of the jury's notes so far, that this may not be a quick decision, but we could see just what that may look like here come a little bit later this morning, and if any additional notes and requests come in for Judge Merchan, Mika.
All right. We will be checking back in with you, NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. Thank you very much. And our
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Prague today for the start of a two-day meeting with NATO foreign ministers. They're expected to discuss details of a new Ukraine aid package amid the country's ongoing war with Russia. Earlier today, Blinken met with the Czech Republic's foreign minister and reaffirmed the importance of a strong alliance in the region.
We're not only stronger, we're more likely to prevent, to deter aggression when we're united, when we're working together. And the foundational premise of our alliance, that an attack on one is an attack on all, sends the most powerful message to would-be aggressors that if they attack one of us, they have to take on all of us. And that is actually the strongest way, the most effective way to prevent aggression in the first place.
So I want to bring in CBS News reporter Olivia Gazis to talk more about Blinken's agenda. So, Olivia, Blinken signaled that the U.S. may allow Ukraine to strike Russian territory with American-provided weapons. They have not permitted that before. They're not permitting it yet, but they may. Can you explain how big of a deal this is and what the concerns are?
It could be a big deal, Anne-Marie, and you're right that yesterday the secretary's remarks were still just a hint, but they were the clearest indication yet that this administration is actively considering loosening some of the conditions it had previously imposed and now allowing Ukrainian forces to strike legitimate military targets in Russian territory. That is something that the Ukrainians have been asking for weeks now, and that increasingly Western countries, including France and Germany and even the NATO Secretary General, have been saying it's time to consider. It's important because it will allow the Ukrainians to strike at Russian military assets positioned just beyond Ukrainian borders that are still inflicting damage in the northeast of Ukraine using things like glide bombs and longer range missiles. Previously, the Ukrainians had been using things like drones, but Russian interception abilities have gradually gotten better. The U.S. has been reluctant to allow this for so long because of concern that it could cause an escalatory spiral and draw the U.S. and other Western countries whose weapons are being used for such purposes further into this conflict. But as the secretary said yesterday, as the Russians have adapted and adjusted on the battlefield, so too do the U.S. and other backers of Ukraine need to adapt and adjust. And that's why we're hearing about this possibility now.
Olivia Gazis, thank you very much.
And there is also this story. A Michigan judge stunned when a man charged with driving with a suspended license joined a court Zoom call while behind the wheel.
Just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he was just driving, and he didn't have a license.
Oh.
That is what the charge is, Your Honor, yes.
I don't even know why he would do that. So defendant's bond is revoked in this matter. Defendant is turning himself into the Washington County Jail by 6 p.m. today.
Yeah, that suspect will appear in court again on June 5th. Hopefully not driving this time. The judge was at a loss for words, guys, and I'm sure you can understand that reaction.
Well, if you're got a suspended license, a note to the producers. Can we please try to book that guy?
The judge.
No, I want to talk to the guy who's driving.
He's in jail.
He's out of jail.
He's out of jail.
For 2 days. He's out.
You know what? We don't recommend you driving from Michigan to our studio, but if you do want to join us,
well, he could Zoom.
He's got some free time
He
right
go
now.
on to say, well, I'm just going to the doctor. I was going to the doctor.
He just should have turned the camera off. Why do you have the camera on?
Well,
then told the judge he's going to park.
It looked like he was late because the judge is like, why aren't you? He's like, I'm just going to park my car.
Look at him with his hands over his mouth. Like, are you serious?
What he should have done was
he confessed.
Since he drove himself to the doctor's appointment, he should have gotten out of the driver's seat and then gone around and sat in the passenger seat and then done the Zoom call.
I think that's a good idea.
How about just follow the law? If you can't drive, don't.
You're so old school.
Or you could do that.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
And then some actual tea leaves came out. The Supreme Court has just ruled unanimously in favor of the NRA in a First Amendment case. What's this all about? Shannon Bream is with us. She's got her finger on this, on the pulse of this case as well. We've been waiting for this one. Shannon, what does it mean?
So essentially what the NRA had said is there's an official here in New York they say was actually putting the thumb on the scale against them, going to financial institutions or other regulated bodies and essentially saying don't do business with the NRA in a way to kind of hobble them and keep them from being able to go forward. So what the court did is they said the Second Circuit got this wrong. It's a win for the NRA and that the case gets to continue. They actually get to pursue their First Amendment rights in this case. So essentially a win for the NRA today, but that case is far from over. But if a government official gets involved with trying to pressure regulated entities to stop doing business with a legal entity, here the case apparently 9-0. Yes, there are unanimous opinions at the Supreme Court. They're sending it back down to say the NRA's got a case here.
Okay, Shannon Bream, thank you so much. So we have that one, but we don't have the presidential immunity case. That could be next Thursday.
Yes. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.